5 minutes until the presentation gets started. Talking about direct participation programs, the world's first and only tech-enabled ranch syndication. 4 minutes. Get ready. We'll wait 4 more minutes, then we're going to get started. Thank you for joining on. Thanks for coming on. Three minutes. 3 minutes will be starting. 45 minutes, half an hour presentation, 45 minutes with questions. Okay, we are about at the top of the hour. I believe it is time to get started. Thank you for joining in on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn. Thanks for coming on. Want to extend my gratitude to those who joined us last time. This is the second edition of live Q&A hosted by me, Coulter DeVries, owner of Ranch Investor Brokerage Management Consulting. 7 years in the brokerage business, fifth generation Montana rancher. Previously was a banker. A little bit about me. If you have more questions, feel free to reach out. Be glad to have a private conversation with anyone at any time that's convenient, that works for us. We do have a scheduling tool on the website if you'd like to have a private conversation with myself regarding direct participation programs, ranch syndication, investing as ranches as an LP. So feel free to chime in your questions here, as well as if you need a private conversation, don't hesitate to reach out. Schedule something on our website. So the first live Q&A we did, since we're on the second edition, the first one was excellent, had a lot of good questions, had some trolls in there, but it's all fun. I want to address some of these questions. So we're all here today exploring direct participation programs, what it takes to syndicate a large Western ranch for exclusive recreation and investment. I hope you all have your coffee here. Not because talking about legal structures is boring and fee structures, because it is midweek after a long vacation. I hope everyone had a good time over Memorial Day weekend and expressed their gratitude and gave thanks for those who sacrificed all for this great nation. Well, let's get started. What we're aiming to do is discuss and examine specific rights, liabilities, returns that you, the limited partner, may expect within a special purpose vehicle. We're going to explore these structures, keep it an open dialogue, and anytime you have a question, don't hesitate to ask. So going back to questions that went unanswered from the first live Q&A, I want to bring up some pretty harsh, critical comments, but all good. We like candid, we like forthright. And this one states, I don't know about anyone else, but I don't trust this on its face, even a little. Sounds like a great way to get yourself in debt to a bunch of rich people who view the land as an investment vehicle and you as more of a serf than a partner. I'm not sure who he meant by you, me, the general partner, or someone generally other than me, the GP. But I do want to address that because his or her concerns are valid and legitimate. So what I see when I get this is I generally don't trust this. My belief is that the land should not be an investment vehicle. From my perspective, limited partners lack a vested interest. These are kind of the things that I read into when I get these questions. He'd also made a comment that it seems like, if I can summarize it, it seems like fund management and organization is too complex, which I'm glad we're going to talk about that. How do you organize recreational benefits? These recreational benefits, you as the LP who has invested in the SPV, the special purpose vehicle, it does come with benefits, but not rights. It's not a timeshare. Timeshares, you hold rights to time. This is within the partnership agreement, what your in specie benefit is. So in species benefit is a benefit in lieu of a distribution. Now there are still distributions, and we will get into that. There's still a K1, cash flow created, and tax shelter created from economic write-downs, depreciation on real estate improvements. Different depreciation schedules based on the improvement, but there are distributions. In species distributions are benefits given to investors in lieu of a distribution. And in this case, it would be you, the LP, has the opportunity to hunt, recreate how you want on the ranch. I'm not going to say you have to hunt. It's I take no position on how you recreate. But you obtain that benefit in lieu of me, the general partner and management, monetizing that benefit for everyone. So that's the agreement here. That is, I am foregoing income myself by not monetizing that, by keeping that benefit for the LPs. And that is long way around answering his question. I forgot what that was. Partially I think it's too complex to organize and manage. So we're going to get into how do you manage potentially 100 LPs on a $10 million property when potentially those 100 people are interested in the same 45 to 60 days. I want to address a question. Who can I contact to find out more about this? Coulter DeVries. I am Coulter DeVries. Ranchinvestor.com. Coulter at ranchinvestor.com. And my phone number, 406-425-1027. Thanks for chiming in with that question. I wonder if we have show notes to be able to post that contact info, but let me look into that. I do want to, let's talk about, before we get into how the heck do you organize 100 LPs who want to take advantage of their in-species distribution. Let's talk about some of the fees, because everyone wants to know, what's this going to cost me? Well, one, minimum investment is $100,000. And we're going to get into how this works, how you tranche potentially 100 people coming in at subjectively different levels of investment, subjectively and relatively different levels of investment. We're not putting any terms on what minimums on the tranches. The tranches are worked out in a normal distribution analysis. I will show you how that works momentarily. But let's get into the fee structure. So first off, there's a 5% upfront fee. This 5% upfront fee is to compensate management. There's always AUM, assets under management fees. This one is front end loaded. However, 2% of the 5%, so 2%, will be paid to myself, management, directly immediately upon closing of the fund. 3% will be held in a trust, interest-bearing trust, for the duration of the term of the special purpose vehicle, and that is 7 years. So that is an alignment of interest. The reason I structured that in there myself was I felt like, I got to put myself in the LP's shoes. How do you ensure management is going to work for you in your own best interest for the long term? And there's performance fees. That's always a good way to incentivize management. Of course, the waterfall, the hurdle rate, we have all that. We'll get into it. But one thing that was important to me is you have a low yielding asset, and you need high paid professionals to take care of this low yielding asset. So my thoughts were to keep the lights on. There's got to be a keep the light on fee. 2% can be paid up front, and it's normal to have 1% to 2% annually AUM fees. This is, however, 5% upfront, with 3% being held for the hurdle rate. Now, the hurdle rate is a 5% IRR. That's annualized. So the LP is guaranteed 5% on their principal over 7 years at liquidation. If that's not met, I'm also putting 2% of my own cash into this as the GP. So if the hurdle rate is not met, um, the LP is recompensated based on, well, first it comes out of my hurt money, my 2%, and then it comes out of that trust account. So that's providing a lot of assurance. That's an alignment of interest. So there are operations. We're not seeking to buy a big luxury lodge. We are primarily focused on cash flowing ranches that might have a little bit of hair on them. They have a large upside opportunity, but generally working landscapes that also have a nice recreational amenity. And that's usually elk in Montana, Wyoming, Colorado. But there's good mule deer areas, as many are aware of. There's good upland game bird habitat. Our primary focus, well, because I'm putting my own money into this, my primary focus is cash flow. And my primary focus is appreciation, appreciation of principal. So the recreational benefit comes second in my mind. I don't need the recreational benefit per the partnership agreement. I don't even get to use it. Not that I'd want to. I have my own family ranch. I look at ranches every week in my job. I have no need to utilize that amenity within the SPV. Personally, I have no need for that. So this is also a question that was brought up is, and I liked it. It was structured, presented in a way where he had asked, are you just looking for rich people to buy you a ranch that you can live on and play on? And are you looking for a sugar daddy? I think that was kind of the gist of the question. And I mean, my response is, I'm providing this opportunity to LPs, accredited investors who don't otherwise have this opportunity. I'm on different ranches across Montana, Wyoming, and Colorado every week. I have family and friends. That's what my network is. I'm 5th generation. I have no need for access to that lifestyle. And primarily, I have no want of it. I have no desire to invest in ranches. At 35, my investing goals are significantly different than the LPs, the accredited investors who are going to be in this SPV. They're at a different point in their life. They have different goals and objectives. Mine are cash flow commercial real estate. I mean, that's what I invest in, and I invest in my own business. I invest in myself. So a low yielding, capital protective, inflationary protective alternative asset that's loaded with recreational benefit, that doesn't interest me. But to have an alignment of interest as the GP, yeah, I'm going to put in 2%. I don't really want to. It's not my ideal investment, but that kind of answers the question of, are you looking for a sugar daddy? Let's get into, so I am trying to create the best investment for myself. I think that should be known, that if I am going to put 2% into this, I damn sure want to optimize it, and I'm damn sure going to maximize it. So there will be a 25% gross revenue share on livestock, agricultural income, any ordinary and recurring revenue. This may include solar, wind, and carbon, depending on the structure of the payments and property rights being capitalized. So that's 25% joint venture revenue share on ordinary income, 45% revenue share on recreational income. That is based on the LPs. We'll get into what that looks like. 15% revenue share on conservation programs, conservation and government programs. This is unordinary income. Usually includes depletion, such as gravel, timber, fossils, and minerals, but also PRF, CSP, CRP. There's AFO-CAFO that we can monetize through the USDA. There's plenty of government programs. LRP is going to be a good paying one. Anything that's subsidized, that the taxpayers are subsidizing your return and my return, we're going to be going after. That's why you have expert managers. That's why you have experience in your GP, your management team. The truth is, the majority of my clients have not capitalized on these opportunities, and that's very common within ranch ownership. I think a lot of high net worth people believe that the juice isn't worth the squeeze, and for them, it might not be. If you're looking at $40,000 a year for CSP, it's probably not worth it to them because it comes with strings attached, and you have to administer and management and implement it, see it through, report it to the FSA or NRCS. So a lot of these government programs and conservation programs, I can understand why a lot of the majority of my clients and absentee owners, they just don't entertain them. But I mean, this is my money on the line, so I will be going after those. And I don't mind when the United States taxpayers subsidize what I'm doing. In agriculture, it's very common, and I have no problem optimizing that. So there's also a 1% disposition fee at sale. This is in addition to 6% brokerage fee. Yes, I am the broker. I don't see any conflicts of interest there. I may not be the broker in 7 years. My time is primarily focused on this DPP program. So who knows who the brokerage will be? You're always going to have to pay that 6%. That's just normal transaction cost. There's going to be a 2% loan origination fee, which is common. Most funds have that. But leverage is capped at 15% for this. And you can't leverage these ranch assets really any more than 15%. They won't cash flow it. So then you'd have to be doing a capital call. We're not going to do that. There's no reason to do a leveraged return. When the cap rate is 1.5%, for example, and the borrowing rate is 7%, why leverage? Leverage will be used for extraordinary events. There's also provisions where if it looks like we have a high demand from the LPs to improve the facilities for the recreational benefit, and I cannot immediately cash flow a nicer cabin, a yurt, house improvements, we will consider leverage up to that term maximum of 15%. We'll consider that if we are cash flowing the recreational benefit. I think it is important to have nice facilities, but if you listen to my podcast, you'll know that you don't want to have too nice of facilities. The resale hasn't always been there. The ROI has not always been there on property improvements for dwellings. The ROI is usually a good positive ROI. Property improvements, cross fencing, pipeline, stock tanks, better roads, cattle guards, gates. All of your functional improvements have a positive ROI, but your non-utilitarian ones, if you listen to the podcast, you got to keep those in check. So that summarizes the fee structure. Let's get into this. How do you monetize for a limited market for just your LPs? How do you allocate, monetize, and organize the recreational benefit, the in-species distribution per se? I'm going to share my screen here. You should all be able to see the first page, how to effectively allocate recreational opportunities. I believe the way I have set this up that what I have is fair, optimized, and organized. So let's talk about how much value and weight I put on hunting elk and fly fishing. I believe my philosophy is that recreation income should be used to enhance the asset. It should be self-serving. So if you bring in $30,000 a year, you should be implementing $30,000 of cross fencing or stream bed restoration to enhance the wildlife habitat. That'll just bring in more wildlife. That'll make your recreational amenities more valuable in the long term. This is an asset first. This is not all of the LPs are interested in showing up and hunting. So those who want it, those who want that in species distribution, they're going to have to join the bidding system here to be part of it. So going back to recreation is a benefit. It's not a right. With timeshares, you have rights to time. Again, I'm producing alpha, abnormal returns, because I have the experience, years of experience. I know what abnormal returns look like in ranches, and I know how to achieve them. But I'm doing that for all investors, and don't forget, I am an investor, so my money's on the line here too. I sure have no interest at this age of squandering what I've created, what I've earned and built. So because we don't set the exact amounts for tranching, it's just a minimum of 100,000. There are going to be LPs who come in 3 standard deviations away from the mean. And so how do you organize that? How do you make that fair, equitable? How do you incentivize and reward those who bear the most risk, those who are 4 standard deviations away from the mean? This is also just a way that we are able to organize potentially 100 people competing over 60 days, bull elk season in Montana per se, or 100 people competing over the 4th of July as we have coming up. That's a popular time to go out to the ranch. We talked about recreational revenue should be self-serving. It should go back into the improvement of the property. Beaver dam analogs, those have shown to have a great impact on all of the wildlife. So we do have objectives to incorporate more beaver dam analogs. And then, of course, yeah, I mean, if this is an enterprise, this division of your business is cash flowing well, you should feed it, right? So if this is the cash cow per se, feed that cow more hay. And that's where, if it's looking like we have very good cash flow from the LPs who are reserving their weeks of use, yeah, we'll invest in a better cabin, fixture furnishing, equipment, tents, yurts, improve. Usually there's always an old homestead to improve, primary dwelling. If it's got to be 3-bed, 2.5 bath kind of thing, we'll look at that. So here's where we start talking. We're gonna do tranching, and how do you equitably and fairly reward those through tranching? Well, we're going to have it set up so that the level 1 tranche is the first 40% cumulative. Those who comprise that are within the composition of 40% of the investment, they're level 1. Level 2 is those who are within the next 30%. So those who are in the top 70%. Level 3, the top 90%. Level 4, anyone over that. Outliers. Level 4, pretty much 4 standard deviations away from the mean. Those are the outliers who should have, they should be rewarded for their skin in the game, for what they're contributing. I'm actually the one with the skin in the game. As an LP, they don't, but they are contributing more on a relative basis. So let's look at an example here. How do you normalize this distribution? If there were 26 total investors who funded a $13 million ranch, how do you tranche that in a normal distribution? All right. Yes, a question came in. I will put up a replay of this. And right now I'm going to share 13. How do you normalize $13 million ranch? You guys all see it's actually 13.4, but we like to use round numbers. And these are just random numbers. So this is a hypothetical. There's plenty of hypotheticals to work through. As anyone knows, there's probably going to be long tails, and there's probably going to be the bulk of investment coming in around the minimum. I mean, we assume if you give a minimum, people are probably going to try to stay pretty close to that minimum. So if we're looking at a $13 million ranch and hypothetically 26 individuals came in, you have 3 guys, gals, entities, retirement accounts, whatever they're using for their investment, their own investment vehicle as the LP. 3 of them are at 100,000. These are ranked in ascending order. How this breaks out is in a normal distribution. The first 18 or the first 17 individuals who contributed up to, well, I don't have what that number is, what the breaking point is, but it's around $262,000. So if you came in this one, if you came in under $262,000, you'll be tranched into tranche 1. If you came in under $925,000, you'll be in tranche 2. This one, just the way it works out, tranche 3, the 90th percentile, those who are in the top 90% between 70, top 70 and 90%. One person in LP number 24 came in at $1 million. He's the only person in tranche 3. And then you have your outliers, someone who came in at almost 4.5 and someone who came in at 2.1. Well, those are the top dogs. And you're going to normally see the bulk of the investment happening down here. And then of course your outliers. So let's look at what do they get? What does the top dog get for coming in at 4.4, being the significant outlier here? We're going to go back to so we talked about, all right, that's just a random hypothetical. If it were 26 random hypothetical placements. Week 1, bidding is open to all owners. This is a ROFO, right of first offer, ROFO graduated bidding process. Bids are tranche 1. That's your final offer. You got to bid on the weeks you want. And these are weeks. This is a week of exclusive use. It's yours for a week. that's just the easiest way to organize this. We also, part of the reason why I'm doing a week and why I'm doing one ranch instead of buying into a fund of many ranches is I think it's important that my LPs have a sense of place and have a sense of belonging and have a sense of pride in the ranch. So something you come back to over and over again, you develop a relationship. I want that relationship to happen. I want them to feel like they care for this one ranch. That's why it's a week long, is you get to intimately know the place year in and year out. And two, you're not just going to transactionally use it, go to the next ranch, transactionally use it, go to the next ranch. That's not what I'm about. We're here for the long term. We're here for the long term, but we are only short tenants, caretakers of this landscape in the bigger picture. So tranche one, that the first 40%, 40 percentile, they get to make the offer on the week of exclusive use that they would like. Tranche four, the outlier, they automatically win any high bid. So if they were the high bidder in week one, they get that. For week, this is going to be sealed, closed bids where you're given a week to submit your offer. So week two, second round of bidding, tranche one, you're out. Tranche 2, 3, and 4, you have an opportunity to rebid any unsuccessful position. Tranche 2, your bids are final. Tranche 4, again, you automatically win any high bid. Same thing. Week 3, rebidding is open only to tranche 3 and 4. Tranche 3 gets to rebid. Tranche 4 automatically wins any bid. And then finally, week 4 is essentially a right of first refusal for tranche 4, the outliers. Planning your week. I am not a concierge and hospitality service. I do not do guiding, outfitting. I have no interest in that. This is not the Pause Up Resort in Ovando. This is not the Hyatt Regency. This is show up and act like you own the ranch. So I'm not doing any concierge hospitality service. That would be way too expensive and draining for myself. I have no interest in that. There are options though. I mean, ideally over 7 years, you're going to revisit several times. So the primary option is to be self-guided. Just take your own damn four-wheelers and horses and recreate the way you would like. You have the liberty to do that. The other options we are working on is one, an exclusive partner, an outfitter, a licensed outfitter who will have a suite of packages, a more standardized package for 1 week, depending on how many people. And then the other outfitted option, of course, you can work with your own outfitter guide anytime. I've always enjoyed when I've had guides and outfitters, different places I've gone, such as New Zealand. I have one coming up in Alaska because it's awesome. When you're somewhere foreign, it's well worth it to have an outfitter and a guide. So there's always that custom option for those who need that, depending on the size of the party. Okay. Let's see. We are 35 minutes in. Sounds like a good time for questions. Any more questions coming in from LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube? Oh, here we go. Here's one. What is being charged to the fund? What fees and expenses are being charged to the fund? And it's not a fund, it's a special purpose vehicle. Well, let me look through my notes here. We talked about what my fees are, management fees. There are operational pass-throughs. Of course, those are pretty traditional. There's property taxes, interest, acquisition fee, closing costs, filing and registration fees, appraisal. At purchase and sale only, that's an important provision I think everyone needs to understand, is there's no reason to reappraise a ranch property every year. These historically appreciate at 4 to 6%, 4 to 9% annualized. At that rate, there's no reason to reappraise, to pay $5,500 for an appraisal, updated appraisal every year. But that is a pass-through cost. There's also a 5% improvement budget held by the SPV. So any ranch you buy is going to need improvements. It doesn't matter if you bought the nicest ranch owned by some celebrity billionaire, it's still going to need improvements based on what your program and your goals are. So we are withholding 5% for that. Then of course there's state of Montana, Colorado, Wyoming, and BLM, Forest Service grazing fees. Those are a pass through. And then banking and accounting. Hope that addressed your question. Thanks for asking about what is a pass through charge to the SPV. Well, thank you all. Any other pressing questions? If not, I'm going to have one ask of you. Please shoot us your feedback, and we get some pretty critical, good comments. So don't be afraid to be one of those who are ultra critical, and be forthright and candid. We appreciate that. Please let us know what you think about this live Q&A session, and what your interest would be as an LP. Accredited investors only, minimum $100,000. Thanks for tuning in.